possibly one of the greatest fighters in this entire anime show. And it's not entirely because of strength. Sure, that's part of it because a lot of people have superhuman attributes in this universe, but a lot of his techniques or raw skills, his fighting art and everything is what makes him really a top tier fighter, even if other characters can lift more technically. When people talk about how he's the most dangerous in the entire block, you kind of believe them. Probably the best fighter in the entire series says this about the Devil Lance. He made the connector block. They're like their shot. The Devil Lance basically did a joke and said, just because I'm an earlier arc type character doesn't mean I'm suddenly irrelevant. He said, this ain't Dragon Ball Z. Notice how everybody's surprised. He wounded the connector. Honestly, anybody in anime that can take on the main character at the end of the arc, overpowering the main character's plot armor, fair and square, has to earn your respect. That's the guy I'm going over today, known as the Devil Lance in this fighting anime. Let's get into it. I mean, it's already a world with a lot of superhuman-esque type fighters, all the different characters having different things that helps them stand out. This guy is superhuman in his own aspects. They talk about how his steel palm, tempered by unimaginable training, changed a simple defense into a powerful offense. Like the way his fighting style works, him simply parrying your weaker, fragile body or limbs is actually considered offense, even though that's simply defense to him. Not to mention the way his fighting style works, the impacts of his blows reach different parts of beings' bodies, even if he doesn't directly hit in that vicinity or that area. Like his hands are so crazy that he can pierce steel with his freaking fingers. People even ask, where did these holes come from? It's because of this guy's fighting style, the way he's worked over the years. He's the Devil Lance. That he built his body around his fighting style to help enhance the dangerousness of his fighting style. Because the way this show works, there's a lot of characters that are stronger or weaker than each other, but weaker characters will win against stronger characters will win, like vice versa, because of skill. Like the gaps in power are not too ridiculously large to where skill can kind of overcome power in this anime. He can reset his arm even if it's messed up. Narration talks about how the pinnacle of martial arts was no more than an ideal, but he puts it into practice. It's talked about how his style does not stop at the hands and feet. Every single joint in the body is trained over a mind-boggling long span of time. They are at times solid enough to be used as a spear. Breaking them instantaneously is nigh impossible. I mean, who do you know whose fingers is hard enough or strong enough to carve stuff like this? He practiced tempering his hands against every surface unimaginable, straw posts, sandbags, iron sand. That's why his hands are literally lances. It's even talked about how it takes many years to master this particular style. I mean, this fighting style is so hard to learn. Why do you think he's an older guy that knows this fighting style? I mean, he's 55 currently, but even when he was 35 younger, he was still practicing this kind of fighting. They narrate how this act of destruction following destruction is tantamount to self-harm, but after the agony, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. After all this abuse, your body adapts and your limbs become like lances. That's this character. That's why you see him piercing his opponent so much throughout this video probably. They've been through so much abuse. His training style is so intense that even if your arm is broken or shredded, a mere broken finger is no problem. His muscles is probably not the most important thing on why he can hit hard. Sure, it helps, but that's not the main thing. It's his fighting style and raw skills, and the way his punches land is what makes him a heavy hitter. Like, for example, if he was to get in a weightlifting contest with a super strong fighter in this universe like Julius, he probably wouldn't win a weightlifting contest. But at the same time, his physique does suggest superhumanness, even if he's not up there with the heaviest hitters when it comes to a weightlifting contest. Earlier, I kind of showed you what he can do to steel, but when it comes to his closed fist hits, there's weight behind his blows. Look what these hands do to flesh and blood. Yikes. I mean, pretty much every match he had in this tournament, he piercing people's bodies with his fingers. He can legit pierce through your hands with just his thumb. I mean, this guy is giving people permanent scars to the face with pure blunt weight behind his fist. So that can give you an idea of the weight behind his hits. Yeah, the scar is still here. Yeah. I mean, if it isn't obvious by now, especially based on occasions like this, he can easily punch through brick walls with laughable ease. I mean, he's facing off against characters that have legit transformations while he's just sitting here chilling in his base form. Like, there's a legit characters that can increase their strength and speed and kind of have like their little anime transformation moment. And this guy that I'm talking about today, the Devil Lance, is facing off against these type of beings. Like one of the beings being this character known as Oma. We see the Devil Lance deflect attacks from this being known as Oma. Like Oma's literally transformed and he's still putting in work. This is crucial because we've seen this character Oma transform, have enough raw power to actually fight technically the strongest muscle-wise being and overpower him, use his own power against him. Oma has done this In this tournament, this being that Oma had to do this to, he has similar durability to what he can punch out with. This same guy, Wakatsuki, the wild tiger, has like this thing known as Superman syndrome. He has like a condition where his muscle fibers are 52 times that of an average person. Like, this is who Oma took out. This same being that can hit ridiculously hard against other powerhouses like himself. They can literally shake the entire building or auditorium. And Oma has techniques that can block attacks from this being. So this lets you know that Oma is also ridiculously superhuman like this guy too. Somebody that can shake an entire auditorium with the weight of his hits. Oma is still blocking attacks from this guy. And the Devil Lance, the guy I've been going over, literally is running through Oma's attacks. Yeah. And putting pressure on this same superhuman being like Oma. The weight of his hits shatter Oma's shoulder. Hits make Oma kind of drowsy. Even when Oma does his ultimate technique, he just straight up still wins against the main character, beating the main character out of his plot armor. So I look at it like this. If the weight of this guy's hits can shake an entire stadium or auditorium they're fighting in, tournament arena, Oma can match his raw power to some degree, even win against the same being. So it implies that Oma could do the same with the weight of his hits, shake an entire auditorium. Even when he powers up, I don't see no reason why the Devil Lance wouldn't be able to do similar, considering the weight of the Devil Lance's hits against the main character Oma. Doing this with his foot to Oma. And the weight of his techniques actually being able to overwhelm Oma, even countering Oma's ultimate techniques. So whatever you think the weight of Oma's attacks are, or Wakatsuki's attacks are, so if they can shake an auditorium, the weight of his hits would feel like this too, at least him hitting you at least. I mean, without even speculating too much, there's even narration that suggests he's one of the hardest hitters, despite him not being the best weightlifter when it comes to who can lift the most weight with muscle. He's one of the hardest hitters still, despite him not having transformations like some of these other people can do, increasing their statistics and such. It was during his fight with the Fang that it kind of shows it's a mixture of his strength plus his technique that makes him kind of a hack. He can do damage to internal organs because the weight of his blows travel throughout a character's body. It's even narrated. Why is his strikes so heavy? Why do they have so much impact? And they go on to bring up the Herculean type character I've already brought up. It's probably stronger than the Devil Lance with pure muscle. Like Wakatsuki, he's like a Herculean type being with the Superman syndrome, genetic freak basically. He has the very well most powerful strikes in the world. They talk about this, and they talk about the man who stood at the pinnacle of martial arts possessed the fastest blows. They talk about how the Devil Lance had overcome both these fighters because he's able to do this well against this being right here to actually take on Wakatsuki. The reason why his hits are so hard, they explain even more here, is that he worked out the timing of his switches between martial arts and formless style. On top of that was his caution against the Devil Lance imprinted on him in the early match. And such caution delays the reaction to all other attacks. Since the attacks come from outside his awareness, he cannot defend in time. Thus they land these heavy blows perfected by decades of training struck him without warning, thus they impact. Think of it like this, guys. Think of it like in real life. I know this is fictional, but think of it like in real life for a second. Imagine trying to punch somebody when their guard up is like this, right? What do you think is going to hurt worse? You punching him like this, or when you punch him sitting down, relaxed, his guard is down? Which hit do you think is going to hurt more? Obviously, the one when he's not having his guard up and he's relaxed and just counting money is going to hurt worse than when he's like this. This is kind of why the Devil Lance can hit so hard against some of the top tier fighters. If an opponent is aware of the Devil Lance's fighting style, they subconsciously help out the Devil Lance without even knowing it, delaying their reactions to where the hits would hurt worse. Because when you hit people when they're not aware, it hurts worse. He's built a fighting style around this. Not to mention the way his strikes penetrate your body and damage internal organs probably makes his hits hurt a lot worse too. So you can kind of look at it partly because of a mixture of strength, skills, and not you knowing when he's going to hit you or how he's going to hit you, his attacks kind of penetrating your body, all these factors put together, you can kind of say he can hit as hard, like narration says, he can hit similar weight to similar beings that have a genetic advantage over him in raw punching speed or just raw power in general. He even goes as far as saying even a strike from an average Joe can be fatal if it lands the wrong way, like this guy with a baseball bat, for example. That's how the Devil Lance sees his fighting style, and that's why he can hit so hard. His skills makes up the difference, because this being has taken on Wakatsuki, like it's stated in narration. He has taken on this guy in the past, despite his ridiculously powerful punches. The weight of his hits can still hit as hard as Wakatsuki, somebody that can literally shake a mountain with his blows. I mean, this guy did defeat almost somebody that beat Wakatsuki. I'm just saying. That's a lot of weight behind those hits. And when it comes to how fast he can fight, a big part of his combat speed is his skills. His skills help him be able to predict. He has kind of like foresight to help his combat speed out. Everything about him is complemented by his skills to make him a more potent fighter. But then in cases like this imply he can literally blitz at you and move like a blur. We've seen him legit counter blitzes like this. You know you're on another level of fighting skills is when you're still able to hit beings even though you're completely outmatched in raw fighting speed. That's how you know your defense is crazy. His predicting and fighting skills is so good. On top of him not being slow either. Of course, he's superhumanly fast, but he's outclassed in speed. But whatever speed he might lack, his fighting skills, his prediction makes up for it, even against a superior opponent in raw speed. It's partly because he's a fighter that watches your fights and takes notes after watching you fight other people. It's like he's making mental notes without even being in the ring. I mean, partly because of his combat speed and his technique and skills to be able to predict stuff, this helps him be able to react to gunfire. They talk about how it's basically impossible to dodge something like this. What kind of combat speed is this? Saying it's slower than I expected. Yeah, he's just fast. Part of this is his skills too, but yeah, you got to be fast to be able to use your skills as well to block every single one of these speed blitzing attacks. I mean, there's even moments when this fighter even speeds up so fast that even the other fighters in the arena that are also superhumanly fast when it comes to reflexes, they state they could not see him. Like he was completely invisible to eyesight. Keep in mind, all these fighters are superhumanly fast as well. He's the fastest fighter by a mile, and the Devil Ants can still react to blitzes from this guy. Keep in mind, there's slower characters in this tournament that can still react to bullets mid-flight. Just keep that in mind. This guy that the Devil Ants is fighting is even faster by a mile. Like, not even he can react to this kind of speed, but he placed his fist where his opponent was going to be. It's like offensive foresight. Part of this is the predictability of the technique being in a straight line. They say it's not too difficult to counter if you get the timing right, but that's only in theory. No one has ever been able to match the speed of this style before. So essentially, it still requires speed and the timing this character has that not many else can do. I think it's fair to say at this point, after all I've shown you, with foresight, everything, his skills put together, he's massively faster than bullets. His hands, at least in combat speed, that's fair. This guy even got faster. Literally not a single person can follow his moves. These are some top tier fighters in the tournament, y'all. This is partly because of his skills move before he moves. How you deal with an attack if there's nothing you can do after it's been fired, there's only one answer. Discern the moment the opponent is about to attack and move immediately before them. The technique of foresight is not unique to this style, but common among schools of martial arts. But for some reason, the Devil Ants just is way better than everybody when it comes to predicting movements, because he's the only one that can use it at this level, blocking every single one of these attacks. Other fighters even notice that this one's far more complete. This is the pinnacle of foresight. This guy seems to be getting even faster, but like I already said, it doesn't matter. And did I mention that he ends up beating this speedster being with the weight of his hits? Honestly, his predicting is so good, I wouldn't be surprised if he can just catch a bullet even at point blank at this point. He's legit tagging, blocking attacks from beings that are legit way faster than him. This predicting fighting skill, along with their fighting speed and everything put together, makes it look like they're both phasing through each other's attacks, says the announcers. Right here, for example. Because they're dodging the attack before it comes, it makes it look like they're phasing through each other. Like in this occasion, it's like literally a prediction battle. This guy's such a good fighter. Even in ongoing manga, this guy is still relevant against some of the stronger fighters. Witness victory that is not determined by strength alone. Top tier fighters even want to see him fight again and be more serious, implying they both wasn't serious because he didn't even use his left side. I mean, we're talking about a guy that's fingers can pierce through thick bridges like this. Weights of his hit can collapse stuff like this. His hands are just a weapon. He's very strong. Do you respect his Devil Ants? Do you think you can hit that like button for me? Thanks for the donations. Respect this amazing fighter. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.